my friends, here we are. Episode 110, part 4 of 4, the final installment of Clint's yearly review Spew. His top 100 albums of the year. Clint, the lead singer of Recorruptor, came on the show to break down his yearly top albums of the year list, and we had an absolute blast. Cannot thank him enough for coming on the show and doing this with us. It absolutely was unbelievable. We actually sat down and did the whole thing straight through. So that's why, for anyone who is maybe starting with this episode or something like that, I created these like a couple little intros and outros and stuff, so that way it's not just like hard cut in and out of our conversation. So yeah, I just wanted to come in here in the intro real quick and let you all know what was going on, and that this is it. This is the final one. Here it is. Let's get to it. Here's Clint's Clint's final part 4 of 4 of his top 100 albums of the year. Here it is, everyone. Kicking it off with album number 24.
24. We're continuing the black metal trend here. Sorry. I don't even know how to say this band, to be honest. I'm gonna go ahead and just guess it though. This is Miss Therming. Miss Therming put out a record called Alchemy on May 24th. And this is a record that's really easily described. This is an album that excels in its melodic leads over the black metal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not so much something that focuses so much on being evil, while it does achieve some of that. I think this is an album that really shines in its playability, because for black metal, it's not really something that really goes all over the place in technicality. And I'm not saying this album does either, but it definitely impresses in its technicality for being a black metal band. I think There's a lot to really attach to here. I think that it's got really memorable and beautiful parts the whole way through. And I think that, Miss Therming just continues to do what they do best, and that's right. Really beautiful and dark black metal.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
There's something cool about black metal that is like, I don't know, just creepy, I guess. Like there's a couple different kinds of it. It's like the really fast, like wall of sound kind of stuff. Like the classic, what you would think of as traditional like black metal.
Yeah.
Really abrasive sounding stuff. And then there's like the stuff that just kind of like crawls into your brain. Like,
right.
Kind of creates that like weird atmosphere to everything. And
yeah,
sometimes it's cool to hear that side of things rather than the overly fast kind of blasty stuff. So
yeah. I feel it.
Definitely.
Okay. 23. I mentioned this guy earlier. When it comes to shoegaze, this is the absolute man. This is the absolute band, and this is Alcest. Alcest comes back with Spiritual Instincts. And Spiritual Instincts was released by Nuclear Blast. I want to say October 25th was when it came out. Again, when it comes to those really bright moments in black metal, I think a lot of that comes from this band. They were definitely a big influence on that. With the post black metal, you're talking about now having bands like Ghost Bath and Numenorian going down that road of really almost pretty black metal, I guess. And Death Heaven too. Death Heaven's definitely a big product of that. But Alcest does it in a way that, I mean, they've provided some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard in my entire life over the years. And actually, it's really interesting because I think a lot of bands tend to lose their heaviness as years go on, and I think that Alcest is one of the bands that have actually managed to get heavier with each and every record, and that goes so much for Spiritual Instincts as well. There's a lot of fantastic records, and this is actually their first record on a major label, being
Okay.
Nuclear Blast. I think a lot of people were a little concerned about what Nuclear Blast was going to do to a band like this that was so underground and was so pure, being in a black metal subgenre.
Mm-hmm.
But all they ever did was help them.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure. It's moments like Protection and Sapphire that just, they provide some of the most memorable moments in all of Alcest music that has to date, while not losing the palpability of what they've done best, and that's provide an ambiance that is unrivaled in its beauty, in its brightness. Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic piece of music, and I think that any band that implements that kind of post black metal style has to give thanks to Alcest, and it's just great that they're still fucking doing it better than anybody else.
Oh yeah.
I think Spiritual Instincts is definitely a proper follow-up for any of their records, and yeah, like, they're just killing it, man. They're just
That's
fucking
awesome.
killing it. Beautiful stuff.
They got a lot of albums too.
They do, I believe.
Not so much albums, but just like material stuff.
I believe this is their 7th record. And
Damn.
they've been around since 2003 or 4. Yeah.
Damn, that's
pretty all right,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another French band, too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, reading the song titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they've got some of the most beautiful shit I've ever heard. It's really peaceful. If you ever, need to calm down, or if you ever, just want to, I don't know, sit in a peaceful setting, definitely check this band out for sure. It's really nice. Okay, let's get back into some death metal then. 22, this is a new band, actually. So I know November 29th, Black Friday, was a big year this year for metal because Cattle Decapitation brought out a new record. And I think that overshadowed a lot of other stuff that was going on because there was a really fantastic record that came out that day as well by a band called Teeth from California. Teeth released an album called The Curse of Entropy on November 29th, and it is gore guts worship. Oh, yeah.
Probably do with them.
Oh, it's so gore guts, man. But even still, it does a good enough job at being its own thing, too. It's just, it's got that dissonant avant-garde death metal that Gorguts is known for. I haven't confirmed this, to be honest, but I kept seeing a lot of people say that Luke LeMay himself was involved in some aspect of this album. But I don't know. Metal Archives doesn't show any proof of that, so I'm not sure. Either way, definitely sounds like Luke LeMay was involved.
Yeah.
So I'd believe it. Yeah. It's just absolutely mind-boggling, technical, brutal death metal that it is also pretty frightening in its own aspect. It's kind of, I don't want to say frightening as more as it is disturbing in a good way. From the start with the song and Lever, it's just, you definitely can tell that this band knows what they're doing and they're out to bother you.
Yeah.
They're out to bother you a little bit, and it does a great job of that. It's not too long. It makes its point really well. And it's just got some really proficient instrumentalism that I don't think we've heard from a band in a long time, like Gorguts. And the cool thing is that when you hear a band that is very so obviously influenced by another band, you're kind of like, wow, why wouldn't I just listen to the other band?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, Teeth does it in a very great manner that stands on its own for sure. It's
awesome.
It's like a small tribute to Gorguts, but at the same time is really impressive as its own thing.
Oh yeah.
The Curse of Entropy should not be overlooked just because Cattle Decapitation came out on the same day. Absolutely need to check it out for sure.
Oh yeah. Yes.
21. this is a band that I actually counted out and did not expect it to shoot up nearly this high. And I think a lot of that was because they lost a key member of, who they've been for a long time. But boy, did they prove me wrong. They came back, and this fucking brutal technical death metal band, the Kings, fucking Nile, man. Nile came back this year with their Egyptian-style death metal and released Vile Nilotic Rites on November 1st through Nuclear Blast.
Yeah, man.
I gotta tell you, man, Nile is one of my fucking favorite death metal bands. Easily. Their first 5 records, or their first 4, and then their 6th, are some of the highlights of death metal for me. I love it, dude. No band ever does what they do.
That's awesome.
And, like, dude, they're so fucking sick. Like, it's just technical beyond all belief. You don't know how they can play it that clean, but be so raw. You know what I mean? And they write some of the most mesmerizing patterns I've ever heard. Not to mention the fact that they've had a slew of great death metal drummers. Now, obviously, their longest standing drummer being George Colias. And he's a nut.
Monster.
He's a monster. He's a fucking monster. And the great thing is that he comes back on this record, and it's almost like he sat down on the fucking throne just to be like, let me show you motherfuckers what's up.
Yeah.
All right, this is how you fucking do technical drumming, man. It's just insane. I did not expect it.
Yeah, it really kind of just came out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, because, I think it's pretty well agreed upon that their last 2 records have been pretty bland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to see this one come back with, not having Dallas Toller Wade in the picture anymore, was a really big picture of what Nile was. Man, Carl Sanders really held it together for fucking sure. And there are absolute staples on here that will stand the test of time and will stand up tall against all their classic records, man. Snake Pit Mating Frenzy is fucking sick. 7 Horns of War is that epic 7-minute track that you're just like, this is what Nile's about. Especially in that mid part after all of the sound effects and shit, like the Egyptian shit going off. Yeah, man, like there's so much to dig into on this record. It is awesome. Premium Nile for a band that's been doing it this long and has been so consistent up until the last couple of records. It's really nice to see them come back and be just as consistent as they used to be.
Yeah.
Definitely check out Vile Nilotic Rites by Nile.
Dude, the first single was just like...
Oh, Long Shadows of Dread. Yeah, dude, I was like, okay, okay, this is what I remember. Yeah, like they just do, and they do it in such a way that no other band can ever hope to touch. Yeah. Like they're just nuts. They're great.
I think the last one I liked was Whom the Gods Detest.
Oh yeah, and that's one of their best too. Yeah.
And the 2 after that, like there were some decent songs on it and stuff. Like it was still cool, but it didn't really like. And, obviously, like, the couple albums before that, obviously, At the Phallic and, all the classic stuff, like, I feel like it's, like you said, it's kind of cool to see him kind of go back to that, that traditional kind of sound that they had on it.
Yeah, it's fucking sweet. I'm so excited that they got good again.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and after losing the one guitar player.
Right, yeah, Dallas Toller Wade. And he was like the main vocalist too.
Yeah.
So to see homeboy fucking the new guy really killing it on the vocals is sick.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's awesome.
All right, top 20 boys. We're here.
We go.
Okay. All right. In what is probably bar none the heaviest release of the year. I don't think there's a question about it. From the production to the actual playing of the record. These are the fucking undoubted Slam Kings and Devourments coming back with Obscene Majesty. Released on Relapse, August 16th, 2019. There's really nothing else to say about it. There's not a whole lot to say about this. This is fucking putrid. Dude, this record achieved so many things sonically for Slam that, dude, it's unrivaled. I have never heard a Slam record sound this filthy, ever. And I think a lot of people agree with that, too. Like, I can't, it's so putrid. I can't even, like, I can't just listen to it from a phone speaker, man. You gotta, like, get, like, a sound system to really dig out what's going on. And then when you finally get to that moment, it's like, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Nice.
You know what I mean? I mean, from the patterns that are in Cognitive Sedation Butchery, the first single that they whipped out there, I think it was pretty clear that Devourment was about to lay down something really sick, and they did. It's consistent throughout the whole way, and it does not, like, it doesn't just demand your attention. It fucking gets you on your knees and makes you look at it. Yeah, like, it's intense. It is absolutely intense, and I think the biggest thing about it is the production of the record.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for the playing of it, it's really, you know, it's really great. And I think it's definitely Devourment at their most evolved, but this record I don't think would have hit as hard if it wasn't, you know, if it didn't have that booming production that made it so overdriven and just unlike anything else that's come from the genre.
Yeah.
It's intense, man, and I can't say that I've listened to anything that's heavier than the new Devourment for sure.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
They've always
Check
been
that
a
out.
real, like, just punch in the face kind of band.
Oh, absolutely. Which I think was even more of a surprise because their last record wasn't very well received for being a little bit more straightforward death metal rather than slamming.
Yeah.
But, dude, this one, yeah, this might be my favorite Devourment record, except for the classic, Molesting the Decapitated, you know. That was just too classic. But that's a different story. Yeah, definitely check out Devourment, you know. If you can live through it.
They're kind of up there with, like, Suffocation kind of
absolutely.
deal. Like,
Yeah.
Been around for a while.
Yeah. 100%. All right, number 19, a really fun record. We've already talked about these guys in a different aspect a little bit. This is Gatecreeper. Gatecreeper comes through with Deserted on October 4th through Relapse. Simply put, this is a bit of what would sound initially surface value, like Swedish death metal worship. Actually makes way for some really unique stuff. You know, and I think that they've been incredibly consistent with that, especially on their last record, Sonoran Deprivation. They've continued that through here. They just know how to write absolutely consistently quality riffs.
Oh, yeah.
It laces the record, especially in the huge moment that is Everlasting. And of course the classic, Boiled Over sounds like it could have been straight from any classic 90s Swedish death metal record for sure. You know what I mean? The whole way through, it's just, it's very hollowed out, and then filled right back up with concrete, man. It's just, it's definitely a disgusting record. It's got very, ominous vocals, provided from Chase Mason. He's just, I don't really know how to explain it, like a lot of bands of that style kind of like get away with like grunting a little bit more, whereas he's like straight up howling. And I think that fits what Gatecreeper is really about, especially in those riffs, some people might see it as a lighter version of Swedish death metal. I see it as a more focused and smarter version myself.
Fair enough.
I think that Deserted really, at the end of the day, most importantly, just contains great riffs, throughout. I think the drum production is incredibly on point. Like, those drums are really big for that record.
Yeah.
They still don't cover up what's cutting through with the guitars. I think this is definitely a great death metal record that a lot of people are gonna remember for a long time for sure.
Nice.
I picked up the first album. I really dug it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance to listen to this one yet, so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really similar.
Yeah.
But I think it's more focused.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Sonoran Deprivation was a little bit of a, you know, the band dipping their toes in what they knew they wanted to do, and this is them like knowing exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being such a fresh band and stuff, like I feel like that was kind of them like getting their bearings and stuff, and then
Right. Okay, so this one we'll probably take a little bit more time with because it's a big one. This is definitely the most anticipated comeback of the year, in probably the last decade. I think a lot of people the world over have been waiting for this, but Tool is finally fucking back. Tool's back with Fear Inoculum, released on August 30th. And this is a hot topic. This is an interesting one. I'm not even going to so much as really review it as I want to like lay out the floor to kind of just discuss it for a second, because I mean, if you haven't heard this record, then you either straight up don't want to or you're living under a fucking rock. So I don't really feel like I need to explain what Fear Inoculum's about.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about it? Are you Tool fans or?
I'll let you take this one, Aaron.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And
then let me fucking own you.
So I much like everybody else was in great anticipation for it.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was an exciting anticipation or just the fact that I just wanted to hear it after so long. I probably would have gotten more out of it if it weren't such a task to get through.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, being the first song being like 11 minutes long, and then the next one being 10 minutes, and then the next, it's like, and
none of the songs are under 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot to to digest, I guess. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Oh no, it 100% is.
And like to me, I'm a fan of Tool in the way that I enjoy the classics, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm not so much like a full album kind of person, although gotcha. I do have a few of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I just it was cool to see them come back after so long and after it being like such a huge anticipation.
Yeah.
But I feel like it didn't really do a whole lot for me.
Gotcha.
If I'm honest.
Okay.
I mean, I like the singles, like the first song they put out, and I think I listened to, I'm pretty sure I listened to the full thing.
Yeah.
If not like a good majority of it and stuff. Okay. And I thought the songwriting was good. I liked the drums on it a lot. I mean, that's something I listened to that band for. A lot of like those patterns and things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was just kind of like not really here nor there about it. It's just like, it's
gotcha.
It's all right, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been waiting for this record for a long time. I remember when 10,000 Days was new, and that was my introduction to the band for the most part.
Yeah. Kind of the same.
Yeah. Like we're talking about, like I got fucking hype up as fuck for Tool. I've always loved them. Anima is my favorite record of all time. Sorry, people can say what they fucking want, but because I know how the trope is of Tool fans being annoying, but I fucking love them. They're important to me. So when I finally found out that this record was coming out, I was ecstatic. And I think, let me preface this with saying that I think this is definitely Tool's worst offering so far. But I obviously think highly enough of the band and this album to put it at number 18 still. That's just how good they are for me. No other band does what Tool does for me. And I think I think what makes it the worst, in my opinion, is the fact that all these songs, it is almost like it's a jam band kind of just going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Compared to like Anima or Lateralis, where they're focused songs, you know, they're really focused while they still have that, you know, relativity with each other to make the full album flow. This album just kind of feels like an album, you know. It's hard to really pick apart individual songs. That being said, Tempest, the final track, is one of the best songs that this band has ever written, bar none. It is 15 minutes of insanity from this band. And I think that this album is definitely Danny Carey's best performance.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think it was the Danny Carey and Adams Jones show for this. And that's kind of what made me think a little less of the record, is because that there's not as much prevalent Maynard James Keenan on it, and the bass is not as prevalent either. It's all there and it's all mixed very well. You know, don't get me wrong, the record sounds phenomenal from a sonic aspect, but like there's just, I don't know, there's so many interesting things about Tool that comes from the bass for me that it was a little weird to not see that so prevalent in it. That being said, there are a few of these songs that'll still really stay with me for a long time, and I think overall that I still find myself listening to this record a lot. It's just like you said, it's an hour and a half long, and it's tough to really it you know, it's not like Anima where there's a lot of songs that fill out the hour and a half time, and they're all pretty individual songs. So it kind of feels like, it doesn't really feel like you're listening to it for an hour and a half. This, it's 7 songs. Between an hour and a half. It definitely feels like 7 songs in an hour and a half. You know what I mean? That being said, this band still does what they do better than their counterparts. Like, no other band comes close to itching that thing for me, and it's just a personal thing of why Tool is so high up on this list for me. Yeah.
Well, it's, that's not to take away from the, the musicianship of it and of the.
Fuck you. That was rude shit. Everything you said.
Well, I'm just like, I don't know. To me, like they've been a band that I've been aware of and I definitely listened to, and like when this came out, given like the time that's behind it and given all of the all the hype behind it, I kind of felt like I was like, well, as a fan of just music in general, I was like, let me just check it out, just because it's been so long and it's been so heavily like it's and I go back to the the System of a Down, I guess, comparison, but it's kind of that same thing. Like, even if I wasn't super into it, like that would be, it's like, well, let me just see if it's any good, I guess. So
right. All right, so keep going, rolling through these a little bit quicker now. So number 17, we have another black metal comeback here, actually. And this is one that I think we've been waiting for a while. Mayhem comes back this year, and they came back in astounding fashion, man. Damon, I'm just going to call it Demon. Yeah. Fuck that. Came out on October 25th through Century Media, and this is easily Mayhem's finest moment since Dom Satanas. Bar none. Everything that they've ever done pales in comparison to this and what they're doing. It is absolutely crazy how flawless this record is, almost. Like, it's nuts. It's dark, it's evil, like it captures everything that was great about the initial, and then the original Mayhem, and then packages it in a much fuller sound. Like, a lot of the time, when you take this kind of sound and you package it in a, in a I don't want to say a cleaner production because it's still not that clean, you
Mhm.
know, but it's definitely cleaner than what Mayhem's known for.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that tends to lose a lot of its edge, and this certainly does not. Like, it certainly preserves every single little bit of disgust that Mayhem has for the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just straight up evil. Like, I mean, from the absolute doom that you experience in Malum, to the classic moments that you hear in Worthless Abominations Destroyed. And of course, you know the absolute filth that's in Of Worms and Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
These are just some of the highlighted tracks. Every single track really has something to pay attention to. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that you have Attila on vocals, and he's he's the most versatile black metal vocalist ever. I think
No.
is pretty fair to say. He's certainly the most skilled, and anybody that wants to discuss that with me can fuck off because you're wrong.
That's a fair point, though.
Yeah. No, it's just cool because I don't think that anybody's really paid attention to Mayhem like this in a long time.
No.
So to see such an important band come up and put out something like this that's so fearsome is absolutely awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, this is definitely a testament to everything this band has done up until this point, and it just slaughters.
Minus the great movie that we were blessed with.
Lords of Chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was good.
100%. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I dug it.
Yeah, I can understand why people wouldn't like it, but shit, I think it's cool,
Yeah.
It's just, you gotta not see it as a documentary, you just gotta see it as a movie,
Exactly.
you know what
And
I
if you
mean?
do, it's awesome.
Like, if it was meant to be a documentary about the whole thing, then I'd be mad, but
Yeah.
Right.
no, it's just a movie that just so happens to have a real life topic.
Right.
I definitely feel like that boosted their,
Oh,
popularity
100%.
again.
100%.
With all the biopics coming out and stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, number 16. This is a big one, and I think that we're gonna get a little hype for this. Number 16 is one of the biggest independent releases of the year, and that comes from Shadow of Intense with Melancholy. August 16th, 2019. This is a really interesting one for me because I think Shadow of Intense always been pretty fucking quality, especially with Ben Dewar and those amazing vocals.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool that this album took the turn that it did because, I think they were pretty embedded in deathcore for a while, at least technical deathcore,
Yeah.
with that symphonic range to it. I think it'd be pretty silly to call this record deathcore. Yeah, this is definitely more ingrained in symphonic death metal than anything.
Yeah.
Even though clearly Ben Dewar is still utilizing the deathcore voice, the instruments themselves really don't have a lot of comparison to deathcore. There are certain moments, don't get me wrong, it's just for the most part, when you're looking at the intro song, it's definitely a lot of fucking it's a flurry of fingers, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of melody in there, especially to this the black and death metal piece that is Grave Singer. I think that's my favorite moment of the whole record. That just pounds away. And that ending solo on that song, dude, it's great. Absolutely great. What I really liked about this record was that one of my favorite tracks was actually the instrumental, The Dreaded Mystic Abyss. It's about 9 minutes long, I think.
That was a cool.
So cool. For a band that's mostly known for having one of the most solid vocalists in all of deathcore, it was really cool to see them be able to showcase their capabilities as writers through an instrumental and not be able to rely on that. I think that really proved a lot for this band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really speaks true testament to the writers that they are. I mean, the flow of this record is way better than anything they've done. And you could tell they were hinting at it with Reclaimer, but there was still, you could still tell there was a lot of parts in there for the sake of, you know, just being heavy. This is so focused. This is so concise.
Yeah.
And it just, dude, it makes all the sense in the world that Melancholy would be at number 16 on my list for sure. You know, it's just, it's wonderful.
The thing that stuck out to me about it is how much, like how many black metal, you know, like symphonic stuff. Like there's a lot of like Dimmu sounding stuff, like vocalist wise. That's really cool that they haven't ever done before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I liked
Odenophobia.
yeah, Odenophobia.
Yeah.
That one, and I mean, pretty much like the last half of the album is just sick.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like they're one of those bands that I really like select songs off of the last couple albums.
Yeah.
And I really liked more so like what the instruments were doing. Because I feel like sometimes the vocals are a little bit like too in your face.
Yeah.
For their style of music. But I feel like with the newer album it definitely was like a good combination of everything.
Right. Hell yeah. Yeah, good one, Shadow of Intent. Really sick record. Okay, number 15. This one will probably be a shorter one because it's a shorter record, and yeah, it's not a lot to talk about here. Don't know how to say this band name. Well, I know how to say part of it because it is technically a collaboration between two artists. One of which is Conjurer. Conjurer is a sludge / progressive doom metal band from the UK. They join up with a band called, I'm just going to go ahead and say Pin. That is Pijn. The project is called Curse These Metal Hands, released on August 16th out of Holy Roar Records. This is a very bright piece of music, as you can tell by the plain album cover. It's just, yeah, like it literally feels like it feels sunny. Like it feels like you're kind of just sitting in a sunny field, you know what I mean? Okay. And you know, it shines. It's very bright, and I think the whole attitude of the record, especially lyrically, is the same as well. You know, having songs called like High Spirits and Sunday, you know. Mm-hmm. There's not so much of because Conjure is so laced in the sludge and doom. This is actually more of like a progressive post-metal piece. Mm-hmm. You know, like, to be honest, a lot of the parts in High Spirits reminded me of like how I felt when I first heard Explosions in the Sky, which is I don't know if you're familiar, but have you ever watched Friday Night Lights? Mm-mm. No, yeah. Yeah, they're the band that does the soundtrack for that show. Yeah. Or movie, I mean. Yeah, so it's like, it's really, you know, a lot of swelling leads and a lot of explosive and bright. You know, it's like, it's almost sad for being as bright and positive as it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got that underlying sadness to it. And I think that's here too, you know. It's just like it kind of makes you feel like you should be crying when listening to it, mm-hmm. but not in like a sad boy emo kind of way, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just like the instruments are really emotional. I think that they put out something that is really passionate, and it's definitely stuck with me for a long time here. I listen to it quite a bit. Nice. And it's definitely one of those go-to records when I need something peaceful.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Somebody wrote, listening to this makes me feel like I could drop kick a jumbo jet right out of the sky.
Whoa, okay.
That was a comment on it, but I don't know how that relates to anything you said, but
it makes me feel like I want to like serve the community. Like, it makes me feel like I need to be a better person. No, yeah, really cool stuff. Okay.
Tinge of peacefulness between all the black metal and the
right.
Sometimes you need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So 14. Another fun one, another fun deathcore record that came out this year that I think really showcases the continuing growth of this band is Fit for an Autopsy.
Hello.
With The Sea of Tragic Beasts, released on Nuclear Blast October 25th, 2019. I think the most interesting thing that we're seeing from Fit for an Autopsy is a band that was once very strictly deathcore and didn't really sway from that at all, to a band where, you know, especially like starting with the Great probably starting with like Absolute Hope, Absolute Hell, continuing on to now. I think we're seeing more of a metalcore brand of deathcore here. Not so blatant in like, you know, fucking chintzy melodies and shit. You know, not like that. I just think that there's a more it's wider than deathcore, you know. Yeah. And I don't really know. I think deathcore is still the primary here, but like you listen to songs like the title track and how that chorus goes through. I think that's definitely more ingrained in like metalcore than it is in deathcore. And you hear that especially in like Your Pain Is Mine and like the beginning of Mirrors, you know. Yeah. I think that kind of stuff is really, really smart and intellectual writing that complements the way that the deathcore parts come in, because it just hits, like I was mentioning in the title track, you know, it goes through that chorus. But you know, the fucking impressive part, like the really heavy hitting part, is that breakdown that comes afterwards. Yeah. And it's just like, it's like shit, you know. I was wondering, you know, like when that really heavy shit was gonna come in, and it, you know, it came in right at the perfect time. It sets up really well. Yeah. The whole album is smart for being deathcore. I think the way that they write is something that not really any deathcore band achieves in the same fashion, you know. And it keeps going. Like Mirrors in itself is really progressive too, you know, especially in the way that the structure is, you know, because it's got a clear defined chorus, but it, you know, it really builds up from the start. You know, there's a whole thing there that really the song would not be nearly as effective if it didn't have that clean intro. Yeah. I think I don't know, man, like it's just songs like that. And, you know, the mammoth pace of Unloved, the absolute deathcore hit, No Man Is Without Fear. Yeah. Fuck.
Even, dude, the one I keep going back to is Warfare.
Yeah, Warfare is intense, man. That is classic Fit for an Autopsy for sure.
Like, tough guy riffs. Like,
oh, it's so tough guy riffs. Yeah.
Just the way that, like, the drums kind of, like have it just kind of like rides with it, with that like the chugging going on behind it.
Yeah,
it's just really cool to me.
Yeah, and I think that their lyrical themes and content really does help set the mood, because it's not so much like where deathcore is like, it's not like I fucking hate you all, you know what I mean? Yeah. This is like, I hate us. Yeah. This is us fucking up everything. It's very, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's got a sense of, I hate coming back to doom because it's not the right word for this, but it's like, you know, similar to like the lyrical thematic of Cattle Decapitation. It's like, well, you gotta fucking face the end now. No. You guys fucking did this. You guys are fucking everything up. And I'm fucking everything up. And yeah, you know, overall, I think this is a band that really shows promise to being one of the most important and innovative deathcore bands out there, because they're so willing to adventure out of their comfort shell. Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of deathcore bands are scared to do, just because the fan base is so fickle. You know what I mean? But they just prove that if you really think about it and do it smart, then you can really achieve a lot. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I won't say too much on it because it's made my list. Yeah. But I will say that if We Are Not Your Kind didn't come out this year, there's a very real possibility that would probably be my number one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Like, okay. There's something about just, I mean, like hearing Mirrors for the first time and then hearing it live a couple weeks ago and stuff, and like just seeing the video for it and everything, and then like, you know, just hearing the album as a whole and stuff, and just the like it's a lot of like, you know, you could tell as far as like lyrically there's a lot of, you know, depression and a lot of things that went into it that just made it kind of like one of the more darker albums that they put out.
Right.
And next to The Great Collapse, because that one had a lot of dark stuff on it. But yeah, it's cool to hear that, and you know, and just that kind of like what you were saying, like that added, you know, melodic kind of sound to it over top of it. And like I kind of struggled with the like the title track of it with the first single. I think we kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's very like, you know, it's a lot of like metalcore stuff.
Yeah.
As far as like, I mean, that's probably as metalcore as I've ever gotten.
I would agree.
But I just think that the way that it fits in the song and the way that, you know, there's parts of it that, you know, like the vocals, just how they're all layered together. Yeah. And how they all kind of like play off of each other, and like the guitars, like there's certain songs that like towards the end you can hear like the volume swells and the different things. That's just, I don't know, that's really cool to me.
Right.
So
hell yeah, fantastic record for an Autopsy.
I got more to say about it, but I'll wait till till later on.
All right, let's bust through these last few then. Okay, so number 13. Number 13 is post-metal / sludge / doom metal project. And this record shot really high up in my list for a lot of good reasons. This is Inter Arma. Inter Arma provided an album called Sulphur English on April 12th through Relapse Records. And man, you know, I'm just saying, when you turn this on, prepare for some really frightening and grounded music, man. Like, I completely admit that I've heard the name many times, Inter Arma, but I was definitely unfamiliar prior to this release. Just never bothered to check it out. Don't know why. I was a much different listener prior to the last few years than I am now. Not nearly as adventurous. That being said, I am kicking myself real fucking hard for not getting into this band sooner, because this is some cement truck shit. This dump truck riffs, man. Yeah. This shit, I mean, it's just the ferocity of it all, especially leading right into a Wax and C, you know, is absolutely insane. It's unreal just how the record pedals along, and you know how much there is to take in with it. When I start to feel like there are moments that are stretched out in this album, the moments in which it hits are just like absolutely huge, and it just makes everything that I was questioning make perfect sense. You know, it's like I almost doubted it, and then it's like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have doubted it. You know, take for example, the song Howling Lands specifically, it's just the way the drums hammer through that whole entire track. It's just, I mean, and plus the disturbing screams that are in it, you know, because this isn't just like growl. This is like shrieks, like really dissonant, reverb shrieks. It's just fearsome. And it just leads right into a doom masterpiece that is like Stillness, and it's totally like I listened to it the first time, and I was like, dude, this is like as beautiful as like music from like Yob, man. Like,
hell yeah.
Has all of the components of what can make a doom metal song really beautiful.
Yeah.
Just pairs it with a smart post metal attitude that just, it can rival anything out there of the genre. Is fantastic. The peak for me being the Atavis Meridian, you know. I think it just, you know, leads the listener in with a calm and solemn mood. But totally unprepares you for what's about to come. Like, it's pretty intense. It just plows through a wall with a little small drum solo. But not far behind are just the stampede of hammer-on notes that it does from this driven guitar, and it just pacing itself beneath some spacey screaming for a few minutes, and it's just like I don't know, it's like it almost makes me feel anxious in a way, but in a good way. It's like, when the fuck is this gonna stop? But I don't want it to. Like, I just want to know if it stops, and then it finally does, to take a bit of a comfortable breath, you know, for a couple minutes, and then it just goes right back into it, just viciously attacks once again, you know. And there's a lot of moments in this song, or in this album, especially in the title track too, which is the final track, of course. Yeah, once you get to that point, it just leaves everything destroyed. You know what I mean? It's just, it does not care.
Hell yeah.
Does not apologize. I think that this is an instant classic for all things Doom, especially if you like bands like Neurosis. For me, their album Through Silver and Blood is one of the greatest records, not just of that genre, but it's a top record for me of all time too.
Nice.
I think that there's a dissonance and unknowing about it that is just crazy to me. And this album shares a lot of qualities with Neurosis too. On top of pushing that heaviness to a new aspect. I think that anybody looking for some cool sludge, for some cool doom mixed with some post-metal, I think that they're going to find Soul Free English to be a mainstay in the collection for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. Good shit. I can't state that one enough. That record's awesome. Okay. Number 12. You know, dude, album or band names are such a weird thing because there's some shit band names out there. You know what I mean? Like but it's cool and they're awesome. Like, let's be real, man. Job for a Cowboy, fucking, that's a shit name. That's a fucking shit name. Like, Job for a Cowboy. But you fucking know who Job for a Cowboy is, and they're instant. You know what I mean? Like, the same goes for Abigail Williams, man. Abigail, like, I get the backstory behind what Abigail Williams is. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, for a band like this, then their sound, it's just like Abigail Williams.
What?
What? But man,
Not
do
making
they?
any sense.
Yeah, but do they get the point across? With their newest record, Walk Beyond the Dark, was dropped on Blood Music November 15th. Some atmospheric black metal, and listening to this record, it made me feel like I was listening to something that was it was still a lot bigger than what I could even begin to understand on just that level. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much to it. That much is very clear from the first song, I Will Depart, which is the clear highlight of the record. Although there's some really, there's, the whole thing is fantastic. This just has like a couple of really driving riffs that set the pace for the record that I don't think any of the other songs could have done. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's very grim. It's very grounded. And I mean, it's really hard to put into words at this point. It's just epic, and for having so many long songs on the record, like, not once did I ever think that it was dragging out at all, especially like in the riffs that are in Ever So Bold, and the, like, because every single song kind of shares the same vibe until you get to Born of Nothing, which is an absolute surprise. How, because it's already, everything's already like so high up in level right here, and then Born of Nothing, like, when you didn't think it could get higher, like, it shoots it through the fucking roof, dude. It is intense, it is aggressive, it is vicious.
Nice.
For sure. The whole thing definitely has a dark vibe about it, and a consistency that has made me replay it over and over. And I mean, this just came out. It's not even a month old.
I was gonna say, I just found out about it.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah, like, it's amazing. It is absolutely a fantastic atmospheric black metal record, and I think that anybody Wondering if a band like Abigail Williams could ever be something great with that kind of name. You need to get the fuck over yourselves and check out this record for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
They're one of those that like comes along and I just kind of like I don't necessarily like forget that they're a band, but I always kind of like forget that they're a band really
Right.
like because like every so often I'll see their name come up or they'll like like I said I just felt like I don't know really where I saw that they put out something new. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, and then I think their last one was like 2015. So
it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Well, he had that whole stint with the Faceless, so that's
true,
what
yeah.
was taking a bit for him.
Yeah.
Number 11.
Number 11. It's gonna be sick. Oh, what's going on with my headphones? Oh no. Shit. Okay. All right. So, death metal. I think when it comes to the OSDM revival, the most revered band of all of it, and for good reason, is Blood Incantation. Blood Incantation is been fucking on a hot streak for ever since they dropped Starspawn. And they followed up in 2019 finally with Hidden History of the Human Race, November 22nd, 2019 on Dark Descent Records. There's really no accurate way to describe what Blood Incantation does. Other than it's just pulverizing death metal in the range of, like really early Morbid Angel, with, some immolation in there. And
Was this an EP or album?
This is an album. It's 4 tracks.
All right.
It just so happens the last track is much longer than the rest, being at 18 minutes, whereas the others range from about 4 to 7. It's just very like low tune death metal, but has a lot of surprising progressive tendencies to it, that are especially brought out in this record. Blood Incantation has a sound all their own that I think is the reason why that they become so popular over the years. It's just, when Starspawn came out, it was an instant classic with everybody that listened to it that was a fan of that genre. Just the way that they play their instruments and the way that they craft their songs, everything hits so incredibly hard. And that's no different for Hidden History of the Human Race either. Right from the start, there's riffs that are just, they're just so disgusting. And the progression that goes through it all is really intense. They're really a hard band to describe. I don't really know how to, make them sound as good as they really are, but they really are good enough to place at number 11 on my list for sure. Even from like the last few moments, the last couple of tracks, like you kind of start to see a side of this band that we haven't seen yet, doing some really progressive shit, and combining it with that straight from the sewer death metal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I know it sounds kind of dumb and it doesn't sound impressive the way that I'm bringing it up, but I promise, dude, this is the record that a lot of people have been waiting for good reason.
Hell yeah.
Hidden History of the Human Race is in every way a great follow-up to Starspawn, one of the most classic albums of the new OSDM revival. It's just it's so fucking good.
Hell yeah.
Been hearing a lot about it. I
Yeah.
keep seeing the cover and just hearing people talk about it and put it on their list and stuff.
Yeah, like it is really hard to describe. I wish I could do a better job at it, but just fucking listen to it. It's at number 11 for a reason.
Nice.
Promise. All right, we're at the top 10.
Top 10, baby.
These are the big ones.
Here we
These are
go.
the big ones for the listeners. Thank you for still listening.
Yeah,
If you're
holy
out
shit.
there, I'll be surprised if there's a single one of you still. Probably fast forwarded to this point. And if you did, just know that you cheated and I hate you.
I will find you.
I will find you and I'm not going to do shit. I'll just cry. Okay, let's get to it. I really want to make sure that this is that this entry is well described here. Weeping Sores is a band that a lot of people probably have not heard of.
Mm-hmm.
They're brand new. This is their first record. It's called False Confession. Came out on Voidhanger Records September 13th. It's surface level death and doom metal, but it is the two spectrums. Like, it is so incredibly heavy and evil and like cavernous, but on the other side, with the way that it uses its symphony audio, like it's the stringed instruments like the viola and the cello, dude, it's just so beautiful at the same time.
That's awesome.
I legitimately cried when I first listened to this record.
Damn.
Not like bawling, but like I shed tear. I was just like, holy fuck, this is so incredible. This is so beautiful. And at the same time, you know, there are moments that absolutely pound away and have some of the most classic death metal riffs that I've heard in a long fucking time. Especially in Transfiguration of Flesh into Dreams, man. The way, you know, I mentioned earlier how I like when a band takes an idea and they keep expanding and expanding upon it.
Yeah.
This one does that with one singular riff that just like carries a lot of the song, but it's done in so many different ways that it's incredible. I never would have thought of it. A lot of people would have never thought of it. Weeping Sores fucking thought of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a brutal ass band name too.
Yeah, Weeping Sores, man. And then additionally, you know, with the highlight of the album is a song called The Leech, called Shame. And yeah, that's what I'm talking. This is the song that I cried to. It is really just it soars with its operatic, or not so much operatic, but symphonic styles over some really fucking brutal ass riffs and some really melodic and melancholic parts. It just, you know, it's really sad. Like I think the reason why I feel this way when listening to the record is because it feels like when I listen to it, it feels like somebody important to me died, and this is what's playing when I find out the bad news.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's the best way that I could describe it. Front to back, it is a long album for sure. Again, another thing where it's like 6 tracks and it's like all the songs are almost 10 minutes long for sure. But this album, above any of the other ones that I mentioned, keeps the attention 100%. There's no doubt about it. And it's just this genre has absolutely no business being as beautiful as this record is, but it fucking works out so well. And this is going to be a personal favorite of mine for a long fucking time.
Nice.
Really good shit.
Nice.
Okay, number 9, and this is a putrid one too. Just in the same how I talked about Devourment having some of the really heavy production like that. Vitriol also managed to achieve this too. And Vitriol is fucking insane. If you don't know, you better get in the know, because this is the next big thing in death metal. Absolutely. They put out a record this year called To Bathe from the Throat of Cowardice on September 6th through Century Media. And it is the fucking most batshit death metal out there available right now, easily.
Fuck
like,
yeah.
It is not polished. It is bleeding. It is wounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it feels like an animal that knows that it's at its last moments, but it still just fucking gives it all anyway. You know what I mean? It's just, that's when it's the most rabid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, it's intense. Oh boy. Like, especially right when you start the record with the parting of the neck is it, oh my god. Just the subtle melodies that they do in a minor fashion complement the almost incomprehensible guitar playing that's going on throughout the track, and just the way that Kyle Cummings does his vocals is like, like, you're talking about a lot of vocalists using like false chord nowadays and shit, and just getting that more hollowed sound, but he's like getting it straight from the stomach. And it's just like, it's heavy, it's manly. This is a manly fucking record. It fucking god damn it. Yeah, like, I can't say enough about this record. It is amazing. It's one of the most heavy things I've heard all year, and to top it off, it doesn't have to rely on like slow rhythm to do it.
Awesome.
It's just the whole time. I've never heard an album like this.
Nice.
It's like the next logical step in brutal death metal, and Vitriol achieved it for sure.
Sick.
Oh,
Good dudes too. I ran into these guys at a gas station.
I
the
saw
other
that.
day.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, super fucking sick guys. That was cool shit. Yeah.
Man, some of these song titles.
Yeah, The Rope Calls You Brother.
Yeah.
I Drown You Nightly. Yeah.
Hive lungs.
Hive Lungs, yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Really cool, man. I implore anybody to check it out that's looking for the next heaviest thing, because it's really fucking good.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, this is the next heavy thing easily. Yeah. At least for death metal, Okay, so number 8. This is one I'm really excited about because I waited a long time for this band to come back in 2014 or 15 now. I can't remember. This band released one of my favorite records of all time, and they fucking toured a whole lot and got a lot of success off of it. So I don't blame them, but I was just wanting more and more and more and more, and I was waiting for it, and they finally came back with it on July 12th, 2019 through Unique Leader Records. Disentomb comes back with the Decaying Light,
Yeah.
and it fucks.
Yeah.
It fucks so hard. If you're not familiar with Disentomb, this is a band that takes the slam structure and mixes it with a lot of brutal death metal elements, and they do it in a really doom fashion. Not so much in structure, but like, it makes you, like, it really feels like there's a bleakness to it. You know what I mean? There's I gotta start finding some words here. I don't know, man. Like, you just listen to it from like the introduction of Collapsing Skies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just sets the pace immediately. It's like, okay, this is serious. This is really heavy,
Yeah.
It's like the size of the gods. It's big. It's real big. And of course, right after slams right into fucking Christ, I can't. It's a long song title. I can't even think of it. Even the song that comes in that also features Matty Way of Disgorge on vocals. He got a lot of fucking time in this year. Your Prayers Echo into Nothingness. That's the song.
Yeah.
And it's just the immediate Disentomb brand, It's just blast beats all over, fast as fuck. And the guitars just are slamming, especially once it hits that fucking midsection.
Yeah.
It really breaks it down for something that's just like putrid. And this, this is throughout a lot of these fucking songs. Indecipherable Sermons of Gloom is really heavy like this. The title track is really heavy like that. And they're putting it with a technical aspect.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it, I think a lot of bands that try and go for this style end up kind of sounding juvenile because they don't have that technical aspect. It's kind of just a flurry of random notes that don't make sense going into one another.
Yeah.
This, you can very clearly pinpoint what's going on, even though it's like super fast.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about it, is that it's really digestible and accessible for being the band that they are. But even still, it's moments like the Great Abandonment and Invocation in the Cathedral of Dust, where you see them like step it down and get that like doom slam and going. That's where that doom comes from, is like songs like that. It's just so, it's bleak.
Yeah.
It's menacing. It's just,
say a lot of the production on it's really like it just rolls over you a lot.
Yeah.
Like it just,
yeah, the production of the record for sure. Like, it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't give no fucks.
It's cool because there's almost like moments where it kind of lights up a little bit and it does a little bit more musically than I think the last one probably did in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty blown away when I heard that one this year. I was like, man.
Yeah, these guys really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you can listen to it. It's like for something that really does the same thing from start to finish, there isn't another band in the world that's doing it like that, and there isn't another band that's doing it as well as they are.
Yeah.
I think Disentomb, for being in a genre where it's pretty easy to pigeonhole bands as being similar to one another, Disentomb is definitely the standout. I think that they've definitely achieved a sound where you can easily recognize them quick.
Yeah.
And they've pushed it to its absolute limits on the Decaying Light for sure.
Awesome.
Love it. Number seven. This one surprised me a little bit being as high as it is. Not because the band is bad by any means. There's just an absolute lot of growth that came from this band between this album and their previous. Hideous Divinity. Hideous Divinity came out with a record called Simulacrum on November 8th through Century Media.
I haven't gotten a chance to hear that yet.
Oh, dude, it's front to back phenomenal. Absolutely is technical brutal death metal. Leaning a little bit more on the brutal. Still very technical though. It's just like there's so many in each song. There's so many different sides of brutal death metal that come through. It's insane. Like there's moments where I'm kind of just like, oh, this is like aborted on steroids, or this other song is like, dude, that's a total immolation part for sure. But the whole time, it's so very much Hideous Divinity, The songwriting is so top notch and still achieves like that, what would otherwise be overbearing, and how complex it is and how abrasive it is. I think that the songwriting really pushes it to a level of being addictive. Like, it's nuts. Songs like Seed of Future Horror like just end out with such a strong note with some very clear ominous dissonance to it that, I mean, it's just unrivaled by anything that I've heard this year when it comes to like this style of death metal.
Awesome.
I think that Hideous Divinity definitely established themselves as an important band this year.
Nice.
Not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not thematic, but just like their representation in the metal scene as a whole. I think that like it's really intimidating, this record. Like, it's fucking solid front to back. It's one that I know is an instant classic for me.
Nice.
100%. I think that these guys keep just pumping out really classic material, but this one is such a far step ahead of anything that they've done so far.
Awesome.
So I think, if you're looking like Aborted, if you're looking for bands like Hour of Penance and stuff like that, this is fucking slaughtering them. This
Wow.
is like it's
saying a
straight
lot.
up. It straight up is. This record is fucking insane.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's saying, considering that Aborted came out with something last year, I feel like there's, and it seems like they come out with something every other year.
Yeah,
Possibly.
every like 2 years, yeah.
So it's cool to have something like that. It's kind of like the middle ground, I guess.
Mm-hmm. My throat's getting dry. I've been talking for a minute. Number six, and I love this record. This is getting to a point where some of these records could be interchangeable, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this record is absolutely phenomenal. It makes me feel the same way that I did when I first heard like Opeth. Makes me feel the same way that I did when I just really found like progressive death metal with blackened tendencies as a whole. I think that this is honestly one of the finest records I've ever heard of its style, for sure. And it's by a brand new band, 100%. That band is called Hoth, Hath, and they put out an album called Of Rotten Ruin through Willowtip on April 12th. Above all else, you have to check out this record.
Hell yeah.
I'm not even in the slightest joking about it. You will fall in love with it. There's so much to this record. It's insane. Like, you can tell that it's got those vibes of Opeth, but it's just pushed to the max. Like you're talking, like, there's more strings on the guitars. It goes way lower than Opeth ever did. It's just got a visceral approach to it that Opeth doesn't specialize in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got some really progressive black metal in there that, I mean, you look at the album cover and it makes perfect fucking sense what you're listening to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's literally Of Rotten Ruin. It's nothing else. It's just fucking...
So, yeah, that's cool.
That's sweet.
It literally feels like everything's just rotting around you when you listen to it. And it's just combined with some extremely smart, like, I don't want to call them like breakdowns, but it's like that, I just don't, they're just not blatant. They just come at the perfect time, and, because you're getting really lost in what's going on, the epicness, of what's happening. And then all of a sudden it just fucking kicks in. You're just like, what?
Oh yeah.
Like, it just, everything, if there's any record that had a finer sense of purpose than this one, then I didn't hear it.
Real.
This record just, every single part makes perfect sense and leads into each other. And even the songs lead into each other phenomenally too. I haven't heard anything that's made me go as crazy as the parts that are in Accursed and Worlds Within.
Nice.
Oh, shit.
Like, they just, when it hits that part, especially in Accursed, because it does such a great job at building this atmosphere, it's unrivaled. There's not a record like it that's come out this year, and I will absolutely vouch for this record for all the years of my life.
Nice.
You gotta listen to it. I promise you'll love it.
Hell yeah.
That is on the list already.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 5. This one. Yeah.
Top 5, man.
Top 5. This one might get lost on people. But I think when it comes to uniqueness, there's no band that comes close to being this unique. There's never been a band that sounds like this band. They're fucking insane. But it is admittedly pretty obscure. sound, and since it's so ahead of its time, and they still are so fucking ahead of their time all these years later, it's just they have a sound that no other band can ever hope of achieving, and that's why they're at number 5. That's why they're so fucking premium. Car Bomb. Car Bomb is a mathcore and progressive metalcore outfit that no band comes to, and they come back with Mordial, dropped on September 27th independently. Dude, it's so hard to describe Car Bomb. Like, you're talking about like guitars that make like laser ray gun sounds and shit.
Yeah.
You know, like you're talking about some of the most heavy fucking rhythms. Like, some of these rhythms are straight up heavier than anything Meshuggah's done.
Yeah,
you know,
easily.
It's just that from an instrumental aspect, Car Bomb's like the heaviest band on earth.
Mm-hmm.
They just are. There's no band that, and it's also mind-boggling the polyrhythms that they utilize in their music.
Yeah.
So what makes fucking Mordial so cool is that we actually see Car Bomb taking a route that's more, for Car Bomb standards at least, is more focused. You know, and there's like a lot of parts, like there's a lot of very distinct riffs that actually kind of repeat throughout the song, whereas, you know, before it was like it was just a total onslaught
chaos.
of fucking nonsense in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but now like you're seeing like in like Scattered Sprites, you know, there's a central riff in there that really goes dissect yourself. It just fucking just pews, man. Just and it's fucking crazy. Mixed in with these vocals that, you know, shouts along kind of similar to, you know, like hardcore vocals, but at the same time in certain other parts sounds more relative to like Deftones.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just really beautiful singing. Even with a song like Blackened Battery, I thought this was the coolest fucking thing. Blackened Battery. The fucking hilarious thing about it is that you listen to it and there are obvious grabs from Metallica's songs Blackened and Battery. That's where the song title comes from. But it's super cool because you listen to this, and while it's influenced by these riffs, you can tell that this is a possibility for Car Bomb to possibly implement some thrash metal influence that we might not have seen yet. So it just goes to show that Car Bomb is always testing themselves, you know, which really for a band like Car Bomb, do they need to? No, because there's no fucking band that comes close to doing what they do in that department.
Right.
It's just insane. I can't describe enough how important Car Bomb is to metal right now because of the fact that they are so innovative. I think it really is a good encouragement for bands to always explore interesting sounds, you know, interesting possibilities.
Absolutely.
When I heard Meta for the first time, I was like, this is something different.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, man.
I don't know what it is about it, but this is really some wild, like, different stuff. And so I haven't listened to this one either, but I definitely need to know.
Oh yeah, it's insane, dude.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no question about it. So yeah, I definitely will wholeheartedly admit that this album might get lost on people,
It's
you know, because it is not accessible.
Sure.
they're
Yeah.
a pretty abrasive band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like even for people that do get into abrasive, like it is weird.
Yeah.
It is. There's nothing like it. It's a brand new sound.
Yeah.
But if you love it, you're gonna fucking love it. And I think there's nothing more inventive on this whole list than Car Bomb's Mordial.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
All right. So here's another fun one.
Number 4.
Number 4. In the post-black metal realm, and I gotta tell you, man, like I said, post black metal nowadays, it's either, it's not visceral enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's not sharp enough. There's not enough cutting edge riffs.
Yeah.
So it's either you're going to include that shit to make for a proper record, or you're going to make something that's really fucking beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Numenorian did with their new record, Adore, that came out April 12th, 2019 on Season of Mist. And, yeah, I mean, some of these records, like I was talking about, these really beautiful records, like Moon Lover by Ghostbath and Sunbather by Deaf Heaven, and now Adore by Numenorian. I think the cool thing about this record is how it immediately starts with something that's like, it really feels like the true sense of depression. Like you're trying, like the atmosphere is trying to see the positive, but it's just not getting there. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's super cool to me, especially since Portrait of Pieces is like the introduction of the record. I mean, there's a proper introduction before it, but Portrait of Pieces is connected and is the first official song of the record and is the centerpiece of the whole record. It just is. It's one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever heard. In the riffs that it has, and all of the atmosphere, all of the passages. It's especially with the vocals too. It's really serene for being as depressive and almost suicidal as it is. I haven't really heard a record achieve this in a long time. It's sad. Like, it's a really sad record for sure. But in its sadness lies that beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of intense moments, like in the title track in Coma. But there's a lot of really beautiful moments that sets you back in your chair, like in Stay, with its beautiful singing passages. I think that this record is really something that a lot of people, not just in the post-black metal community, but in just metal in general, can really listen to it and be like, it's stunning. It's a stunning masterpiece, which really surprised me because Numenorian, I mean, they had their place, but they weren't really that big.
Right.
I just did not expect a record to come from this band like this.
Right.
I definitely implore anybody that's willing to get a little sad listening to music to check this record out, because it truly is a go-to if I were to need something that I needed to get in my feels a little bit. I think it's beautiful.
Nice.
I keep seeing this cover everywhere.
Yeah.
But I could never like put it with anything. So it's cool that it ended up that way, I guess.
Well, I mean, even a lot of friends that I've, heard talk about it are people that do not get into this sect of metal at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, this surprises me at how fucking amazing it is.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I suggest that to a lot of people. All right, number 3.
Number 3.
Top 3?
Number 3. This is a band that came really late in my list. Released on November 1st. So, yeah, and this is also an independent release too. For some symphonic and progressive death metal, this is definitely Opeth worship for me, but it's done in the most unique manner possible, because there have been so many Opeth clones over the years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just been so many fucking Opeth clones, but this band absolutely nails it and exceeds in doing their own thing that stands on its own. This band is called Wilderun, and this band released Veil of Imagination. And I mean, it starts off with like a monologue, no instruments, just talking, sets the stage. And then soon after, everything just builds off of it to create one big explosion of just progressive death metal that's super great. And it's got a lot of folk influence in here too. That just creates for, I mean, admittedly a lot of long songs. It's over an hour long. It's a long record, but man, every bit of it is explosive. Every bit of it makes sense.
Okay.
When tied in together. It's just, especially like in the tyranny of imagination, is just a highlight. Like this record, honestly, like if we're gonna continue talking about the Opeth comparison here, this record is honestly better than some of Opeth's shit.
Oh,
Like, and for me to say that, that's a high praise because I love Opeth.
Oh yeah.
I love them. But dude, yeah, like this Veil of Imagination is so special in the fact that it has such a clear identity and does not necessarily rely on being heavy to be good.
Real.
It relies on being completely unpredictable. The thing is though is that once it does get that heavy, it's just so explosive. Like, it just makes perfect sense. And it's never so blatant. It's never blatant. You kind of just, like, listen to it. It's like, dude, that is, like you wouldn't think that's heavy. But when you combine it with all the other parts that are going on, it's a big build-up for sure.
Yeah.
I think this band is definitely one that you need to digest a little bit.
Sure.
But I just love it so much.
Hell yeah.
well, it's like everything with like bands like Opeth. Like I feel like there's a pretty steep curve there.
Yeah.
Getting used to everything, and kind of once you do, it's like the world's kind of different, like,
Right.
in a sense. Like
Yeah.
So
It really does change. That's the coolest thing about this record, to be honest, is that it really changed the way that I think about how metal is composed.
That's awesome.
It's not not so much in the way that Car Bomb does it, you know what I mean? Because I think that is to a point where I know I could never fucking achieve that, you know what I mean? I don't know that this is something that makes me think about how I compose my music. And while I'm not saying Recorruptor would ever go for something like this, it just makes me think of all the song structuring that Wilden Run implements in their songs. It's really unique, and I've never really quite heard anything like it. I think that it's absolutely fantastic, and I think that it's something that I will absolutely continue to listen to for a very long time.
Awesome.
oh yeah.
Okay. So here's the make or break here. There's only 2 left.
Are you gonna make a last minute like split decision?
No.
No.
No, it's
pretty much set.
It's set. I
Yeah.
don't think I could do that to myself. Okay, so number 2. This one came out earlier in the year. On May 10th, to be specific, through the Artisan era. And I think that while the specific community around the Artisan era definitely appreciated this, I think a lot of people really missed out on what this record had to offer. This is Warforged. Warforged put out a record called I Voice, or One. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be One.
Yeah.
Like Chapter 1, Voice.
Yeah, we talked about this one.
Yes, we did.
This one's pretty
Progressive,
gnarly.
yeah. Progressive black and death metal. And it's done in a way that I've never heard any other band do it, man. And the thing of it is that, like, it's got so many different it's not so much that it has so many different flavors contained in it. It's the fact that it takes it and stretches it to its farthest possibilities, like as far as like the really soft parts go. Like if it's trying to be soft, then it's fucking it is like Egyptian cotton soft. You know, and especially is showcased in like a song like Old Friend, which is progressive as all hell and so beautiful. But then when it's trying to be fucking heavy, man, it's like a fucking whale orgy, you know? It's just a bunch. It's just thousands of pounds, and that much is showcased on Beneath the Forest Floor. You know, it's after like a lot of these songs are connected. So when you listen to the first song, and it just abruptly goes into what is the start of Beneath the Forest Floor with just the fucking I don't even know how to explain it, dude. It's fucking crushing, like. So fucking heavy. And there's a lot of moments like this, like when it needs to be technical, you know, it's absolutely technical, and when it needs to be progressive, it's just it's something that where when it needs to do something, it excels at it in the most. And I think that's what makes it, even though all the sounds of the album are so united, I think the fact that it excels so far in each department is what makes it seem like it's really wide. You know? It was what makes it seem like there's so many different influences in there. It's just because they just do such a good fucking job at playing and writing riffs.
Yeah.
And writing passages. I don't think that any kind of progressive black and death metal really sounds like this, man. Like, it's just...
It's pretty different.
It's so different. It's incredibly different, and the best part of it is that for being such a long record, it doesn't feel like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like everything is there for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these songs have just stayed with me for being so early on in the list, or in the year, I should say, being a May release.
Yeah.
It's crazy how well these songs have stayed with me. Like, it's nuts. I absolutely love this record by Warforged, and I think that as long as people kind of start to wake up a little bit to what's going on with this band, that they're gonna be a serious force to be reckoned with.
Oh, fucking yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'll say it's cool that we've reached a point where you can kind of do that with heavy music.
Yeah.
Like, you can, it doesn't have to just be like, you know, death metal or like progressive stuff. It can be like, you know, you can have really heavy moments and like, you know, the softest thing you've ever heard on the same album, you know, and like 10, 20 years ago, maybe, you know, further back than that, there was none of that.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of one-sided, I felt like. At least, I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of what I noticed. And now I feel like within the last like 5 years, even, like, we've seen this build of just really like experimental, like interesting kind of stuff, like song-wise, that's happened that you otherwise would wonder like if that's even possible to do.
Right.
So
I feel it. Yeah, it's super cool. So here we are.
Number
here
one.
we are.
And based on the fact that I haven't heard it yet, I think I know what it is.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, it should be pretty obvious, and I think the listeners will probably...
Genuinely, I'm surprised that it gets your top spot, though.
Oh,
Not surprised in the
100%.
sense... Just go on.
100%. No, I get you. I get you, too. And I've been anticipating this record all year. Ever since that they announced that they were doing it. It's just, this is a band that's very special to me. I think that everything they've done is nothing short of spectacular. And yeah, I think that they've managed to craft a fucking album that is not only an amazing collection of songs individually, but has one of the most powerful one of the most powerful album flows of all of 2019.
I could see that.
Like, it makes sense from start to finish, and every little bit is just so well thought out. And that's fucking Cattle Decapitation
Kaboom.
with Death Atlas. November 29th, 2019, brought through with Metal Blade.
Less than a week ago.
Less than
Or maybe a week and a half ago, rather.
a week in a day.
Yeah.
No, a week in 3 days. A week in 2 days. It's Monday. It's 3 days.
It is now.
Yes. I cannot talk enough about how amazing Death Atlas is. It is because I told myself when going into this that I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of time to decide realistically what was going to be my number one concerning this record. You know, where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that because I always like to take a lot of time to digest my
Me too.
records before I fucking put it in.
Yeah.
That being said, I knew that I told myself, I said, if this manages to get close to the Monolith of Inhumanity heights, then it's probably going to be fucking number one. And it did. While I still think Monolith is better. That's just my opinion. I think a lot of that comes from nostalgia. But it also, but logically, that record is just front to back full of death metal anthems.
Yeah.
Like, there's just songs on there that still have not been matched, in my opinion,
By any band.
Where Death Atlas really succeeds is what I already mentioned. From start to finish, it has its point, and it is a very powerful point. It does not steer whatsoever, and it's awesome as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment that you hear, all of the sound clips going on in the beginning, as soon as it kicks into the Geo side, dude, it's just like intense. Like, the Geo side is the perfect opener for this record for sure.
Yeah.
It just fucking hits that tom and just all hell breaks loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the whole thing, and especially when the vocal passages really come in, like the verse, it's just that riff is just fucking another example of it just takes the one idea where it's just so simple. It's just normal, it's just a normal riff, and then immediately, just right after that, halfway through that verse, it just does the same thing, but the drums and the bass are going so much more insane, and Travis is really pushing those vocals harder. It's just taking that idea and just expanding on it. And that chorus is so addictive, man. Oh,
Absolutely.
my God.
Yeah.
The whole thing, all of the songs really, really have a lot of unique choruses in them. I'm really glad that Travis has pushed himself further in that department, because that's what made me really love Monolith.
Yeah.
Was him introducing those style of vocals, because obviously it's nothing that's ever been heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially the way that he does it. A lot of his vocals are really like agonizing in a way.
100% man.
Going through the chorus of "Be Still Our Bleeding Hearts," it's just and all of the fucking odd time signatures that are in Vulturous, and the way that it plays with black metal, really the way that the whole record kind of plays with that frenetic black metal sense, and then the whole thing is just intense, especially once it starts to kick into the singles that they released.
Yeah.
One Day Closer to the End of the World has a really clear fucking message, and it really does feel like when you're listening to it that it's just it is one day closer to the end of the world. That's what it feels like. And it's great, great lyrics, great vocal delivery. The riffs really slam in there for sure. And Bring Back the Plague is one of the fucking most solid songs they've done in forever. And that's saying something, because this band has a lot of fucking solid songs.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's no way that song will ever leave the set list.
Yeah.
It's just insane how good it is.
There's a lot of great moments on this record, especially with Time's True Curtain, and of course, the phenomenal 9-minute closer that is Death Atlas. I think that song is so important in the flow of the record, being that it's so intense for those 4 minutes, and then the entire rest of it is really just, it's like the end of the world. It's like it's done.
Yeah.
It really does make you feel like there's nothing more, and this is it. And I'm really blown away at the fact that Cattle Decapitation was able to create an album with this kind of flow. You mentioned it earlier, it's a lost art to be able to create an album with that kind of flow.
Yeah.
It really fucking is. And Cattle Decapitation has managed to do that 100% with Death Atlas. I think that this album, along with Monolith of Inhumanity and the Anthropocene Extinction, is going to be a really strong influence on the way that bands think about their songwriting.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that, as far as the guitars, as far as the vocals go, I think that Travis Ryan has always been a very big, it's like a big brother role, you know what I mean, to the metal scene, because a lot of people really still try, and myself included, really try and sound like Travis Ryan, like, you know what I mean, like taking that from it. And he's only showcased that more by making himself more unique with this record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's just it's
it's phenomenal.
Man, I like the video that they put out, the visual thing. It was the like the short film or whatever.
Yeah, for Death Atlas and the Unerasable Past. Yeah.
Dude, like I remember like halfway through it, I was like like you're paying attention to it and stuff, and it goes so many different directions. And
absolutely.
by the time it's finished, I was like, I wasn't really expecting that, but I really, and this is before the record came out, I was like, I wasn't expecting that, but if this is what the rest of it's like, then this is going to be something really different and something really special,
Yeah.
And
it is.
Yeah.
And I think that any other way that if I was, like, with any of the albums that are on this list, they were in the same place. Like, I was really anticipating them and had to decide at November 29th where it was going to be.
Right.
I don't think they would have stood a fair chance, but this record, I think from the first listen that I listened to it, I really
immediate.
felt
Yeah.
that this is one of the most important albums, not only of 2019, but of the decade. I think that this album really shows a pivotal movement in how death metal is going to be viewed, especially 2020 forward. So I got to give it up, man. Cattle Decapitation has formed the way that we view death metal so many times.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And just every album that they put out it's nuts. Not enough props goes to the way that those dudes play their instruments, especially Josh Elmore, the guitarist.
Yeah, man.
The way that he writes is I can't even fucking
mind bending.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, that's my number one. Props absolutely goes to Cattle Decapitation for dropping Death Atlas. I gotta thank everybody for, listening this far. I'm sorry that if I upset you with some of my choices, but I really hope that a lot of you found some new stuff to listen to. Sorry, it's been a long journey. We're all tired too, so I believe it.
Well, hats off to Cattle Decapitation, and hats off to you, sir, for putting together such an amazing list. That was outstanding.
Thank you.
It was
I appreciate
outstanding.
that.
I'll say, and we've talked about it before, like everybody that we've had on, or just everybody that we've talked to and stuff. Like I feel like I always take like at least one thing from it that I didn't know previously, and that was that. I guess this time it was that like I didn't realize how like eclectic your and like all over the place your taste was as far as like the doom stuff and as far as like the all that, and how like just into the like the really avant like the dark stuff, I guess. Like it's cool.
Yeah, I think there's beauty in every kind of style of metal. I think there's beauty in every style of music, really.
Yeah.
Except for country, fuck country.
Oh, man.
No. No, but really, I think, as long as there's bands out there crafting something, then it deserves to be heard. And then if nobody else is going to listen to it, then I'm going to be the one to listen to it, and I'm going to give it a fair chance.
Yeah.
Because
Fuck
I
yeah.
know that I want everybody to listen to my music and see what they think of it, but I know that's not realistic. But as long as there's somebody like me out there
Right.
listening to my music, then I'm going to feel good about it.
Right.
So
Hats off to all 100 bands, except
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Nazi sympathizers.
Well,
For making 2019 a fucking legendary year. Holy shit.
insane.
yes.
Insane. Genuinely insane.
Mm-hmm.
But any closing thoughts, Aaron?
It was the most disappointing album,
Ooh.
you think?
Some disappointing albums. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It was the most. Yeah.
There's a couple here. Of course, I don't mean bad by it, because I've already said I respect everybody's artistic direction.
Right, yeah.
They can do what they want.
That's kind of why I worded it that way instead of
Yeah, disappointing, not the most bad, right?
Yeah.
I feel it. That being said, this may not be a well-known fact to you guys or the people that know me, but I actually am quite an avid Devil Wears Prada fan. Up until Transit Blues, I loved everything that they did. I think that they were fantastic, and I think that they really knew how to create a warm atmosphere in their music while also providing some really palpable riffs. That being said, the act fucking sucked.
That's, to be honest, like I had that same kind of thought about it, like that when I went into it expecting it wasn't at all what it ended up being.
I can respect like exploring sound and shit, but like people just are like, dude, it's just a different side of the band, like it's just softer stuff. It's like, dude, no, they sound pompous. It sounds like contrived shit. I'm sorry. I will be rough about that one. It just sounds like it's trying to be like smart, and it just is not. It's not smart music. It doesn't. There's nothing to attach to.
Yeah.
That one was hard for me, and also I was slightly disappointed with Fallujah's too. But we already talked about that.
Other than that, I can't really say that there was anything that was disappointing. Most everything either just simply wasn't good enough to make the top 100, but it was still okay, or I just, there was just too much good shit to pay attention to for me.
Yeah.
It was a crazy year. Crazy year. So thank you very much, Clint, for being on and doing your list. This was incredible.
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Absolutely.
I think we'll have to kick it down to 50 next year, though. Maybe I'll give some quick honorable shout-out mentions for some other ones, but
For everybody still paying attention, we started what 5 or 6 o'clock,
about 5:45 to 6 o'clock.
and it is now 2:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Lost in the dark.
So
Yes.
We got troopers. Anyway, thank you all very much for listening. And be sure to follow Bogwraith and Recorruptor on Bandcamp and YouTube and iTunes and fucking everything. Same with us. Sure to like and follow this. And hope you all enjoyed the first of what will be a few album of the year, decade episodes that we have coming up. So that's gonna be about it. Thank you all for listening. Raise your horns, bang your heads. Love you all to death. Good night. And believe it or not, we've made it, everyone. That's it. That wraps it up. You've now heard all of Clint's top 100 albums of the year. Can you fucking believe it? Man alive, were there some mega hitters in this last chunk, where they're not, from fucking Fit for an Autopsy, Disentombed, oh my god, Mayhem, fucking, and of course, the Kings, Kettle Decapitation, killing it with their current release. Man, oh man, that was an unbelievable episode. I cannot thank you again so much, Clint, for coming on. Everyone be sure to follow Clint and follow Recorruptor on Bandcamp, fucking Spotify, fucking iTunes, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everything, all of the above. They have quite a few irons in the fire right now. There is a lot. It's the calm before the storm in both in the Recorruptor camp. So be sure to follow along with them because some big things are coming soon. Very excited for that. But other than that, thank you again so much, Clint. It absolutely means the world to us that you wanted to come on our show and do this. It's unbelievable. So it absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, man. It was a blast. It was a great time, and hey, can't wait for next year. All right, everybody. So that's gonna be it. That's it for the outro tonight. And we got a lot more coming. We still got Aaron and I's album of the review, Filthy 15, and of course, we're gonna do an album of the decade list because why the hell not? A Filthy 15 for the decade. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we got a couple other reviews coming up too. So buckle up, enjoy. I hope you all enjoyed this list as much as I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed recording it because it was a blast. Thank you again so much, Clint. Thank you all so much for listening. If you went through all 100 with us, you were as diehard as they come. You're a real motherfucker. So thank you so much. My hat's off to you. Leave a comment below if you listen to it all. I'd love to hear from you. And hear your thoughts. Thank you so much. Raise your horns and bang your motherfucking heads, everyone. We love you all to death. Good night.